Hello everybody, welcome back to Cinema Savvy. It is myself, George, bringing a brand new review, and today I'm going to be reviewing F1, or shall I say F1 the movie, which is releasing in cinemas in the UK this Wednesday, America this Friday, and I have seen the film tonight. I've just got in, it's I think just gone past 11 o'clock here in the UK. I've watched this at the IMAX regional screening, which was done in sync with the red carpet in London and a few of the premieres. So I've got some thoughts on this. I know there's been a few screenings already around the world. I know there's one press screening a few weeks ago. The big UK press screening's tomorrow. But I wanted to see this as early as I can. I wanted to see this in IMAX. It's a film shot in IMAX utilising that format. So I'll always advocate for that cinema experience. And yeah, I'm going to be giving my thoughts on this film, my thoughts on Formula 1, for better or worse, depending on what side people are on. I guess my thoughts on film if you're an F1 fan that's never found this channel before. So it's a really weird one. It's a rare one where these worlds don't normally clash. The closest we get to clashes are documentaries or, unfortunately, the annual release of Drive to Survive, which I still do on the channel, which, you know, for my opinion, has made a mockery of Formula 1 for the last sort of 5-6 years. So, safe to say, heading into this, I've been really excited for an actual original F1 film. And that's a huge selling point for me. This is one of my most anticipated films, not just of the year, but of recent years as well. I've been very excited for this film to be announced, to see how they've been filming it, to see what technology they've developed. Everything about this I've been so excited for. So I'm going to give my blunt, honest thoughts on this as well. But I do want to hear from people at home. So comment your thoughts. I'm not going to do spoilers, but I am going to obviously talk about the spoil. I'm going to talk about the stuff within this. It may be deemed predictable. If you've seen the film in the future, you're more than welcome to leave those comments as well. If you went to those regional screenings today, did I read there was 500 of them on around the world? I want to hear your thoughts on it too, because I don't know how this is going to go down in two communities. I don't know how it's going to go down in the F1 side of things. I don't know how it's going to go down in the film side of things. And I'm in this weird blend where I get to talk about both sides. And that being said, let's very quickly, for the sake of this review, talk about my background in Formula 1. I started watching it in 2007, which has been almost 20 years at this point in time, which makes me feel very old. And my dad got me into it. A lot of my family on his side and my mum's side were always watching it, so I've got memories and glimpses of it as a child. It was only until the 2007 season when I was sort of sat down, it was put on properly. There was this great young British driver who has gone on to not just win 7 World Championships, be knighted, but he's a producer on this film. Of course, we're talking about Lewis Hamilton. So I've obviously followed his career, followed the sport, and yeah, it's been a huge part of my life, my friendship circles, and my thoughts on current Formula 1, if I even want to get into that. The 2022 rule regulations, I think, have been the worst of my lifetime. Not even as a fan of a certain driver. The racing has been very poor across the board, from top through to bottom of the grid. I know there's always a dominant team in Formula 1. I do not mind that, if I'm honest, that's part of it. But the overall racing quality of Formula 1 is quite dead. Added into the mixture of the Americanization of Formula 1, where we're going to do a Vegas race, we're going to do a second America race, we're going to do a third America race. Let's add in all the backwards countries where they'll chop your heads off for being gay and all the other stuff that goes down. It's safe to say that F1, to me, is in a pretty poor state. Aramco Aston Martin Formula 1. They had to put the Saudi Arabian sponsor before the old owner. Yeah, that's the sort of state we're in with F1. So I've got controversial thoughts on that. And yes, I still do watch it. I just don't go to races anymore. But this film, on the other hand, I was looking forward to. Joseph Kosinski, one of the great directors, and I don't mean great director in the aspect of like a Scorsese, Spielberg. I mean, he's directed 2 of my favourite films of all time, Tron Legacy and Top Gun Maverick. Top Gun Maverick, one of the greatest blockbusters in cinema history. He directed this, of course starring Tom Cruise, of course using real planes with incredible action sequences, amazing ensemble cast, great characters, breakthrough actors who've made their mark in Hollywood 3 years on. And this is the guy that's going to go from the planes in the sky to the cars on the ground. I'm sold. Apple producing it, who have an incredible track record since becoming a studio. Of course I'm sold on that as well. I've just been to the studio by the Incredible series. And there's so many things going for this film heading into pre-production. I was so excited. And we kept seeing Tom Cruise at races. The Tom Cruise at races. Tom Cruise was at the London film premiere tonight. And the film stars Brad Pitt as Sonny Hayes. And there's going to be a difficult conversation on that, if I'm honest. So, safe to say I'm excited for the film. But unfortunately, I don't feel the creative team was entirely there from day one. And my issue, first and foremost, when meeting more and more about this, they're going to take an F2 car, adapt it, put it in play, and you can do all this great stuff with it. I was really excited to see that. And from a visual standpoint, the film is a treat. The trailers looked phenomenal. But so many of the best trailer shots, unfortunately, were the best shots in the film with the racing. But from a technical perspective, I was excited to see the film on top of being, again, a fan of F1, a fan of creatives involved. And the story itself, the story of Apex Racing, we're not telling the story, we're not doing a biopic on a famous driver, although the greatest F1 film of all time is, of course, Rush, which is about Niki Lauda and James Hunt. For those that haven't seen Ron Howard's amazing film, please go and watch that instead of this film. But an original story, we're going to take this struggling Apex Racing team, we're going to bring back a driver who never really made it, and he's going to, help save the team. And I was like, okay, an original story with an F1, I can dig that. I'm curious to see how this goes. And its codename title in the UK, or for its shooting production title, original rumour title was Apex Racing, which is the name of the team, which sounds great, because it's a film being endorsed and involving F1. It's great. It's called Apex Racing. The film is primarily about Apex Racing. Let's really nail that. And then let's rebrand it to F1 the movie. Probably amazing for marketing, for SEOs. F1 the movie is what we've got to talk about it. I hate the name. I think it's one of the worst names for a film ever, if I'm totally transparent. And the film isn't about F1. It's the entity of Formula 1 is not about the film. The film is Apex Racing. The film is about Apex. It does not matter who's at the top, who's winning championships, who's racing, who's where. The film focuses on this team. We've got a young rookie driver being paired with an older experienced one to help turn the season around and save this team with technical invigoration, with the directors, and so on and so on. So there's some predictability there. And I've got to kind of say one thing, so it sounds a bit sarcastic, this review, which isn't my intention, but there's some things that really don't work with me with this, which I'll get into. But I love the premise that this film, the logic of it is they just need to win one race to save the team. None of this nonsense that we're going to start at the back of the grid and by the season finale will have won the title. This isn't Ted Lasso season 3. This is something far more simple. It's got a hook, it's got a story point. The time that passes by, you've got 9 races to win one race to save the team. I really liked that. And when I was watching the film and they started going through it, I was like, okay, there's a bit of a hook here. It might not be the generic the generic action blockbuster we think. There might be some stakes to it, there might be some drama to it. And then, unfortunately, the film became incredibly average. That's kind of it. The worst type of film. You've got this incredible technology. By the way, this is a $300 million film, apparently. They say it's 200, but everywhere report it 300. $300 million film. And I'm calling it average, which is a real shame. And I'm telling you this, I can't see the budget on the screen. I had a great conversation about Mission Impossible, the Final Reckoning, sorry. It's a $400 million film. It looked like a $400 million film. This looks like a highlights package given to you by Sky with this car spliced in. And I think where some of my criticisms of this is going to go is the actual F1 entity. Again, you call it Apex and you shift the focus just on this Apex team. It will work, but this does not work under the function of F1 the movie. It's inherently a completely different film to what it's being advertised and what it's being titled as. And I think that's a big part of the marketing. And it absolutely makes sense that the film is called F1 because it's being done by F1, but it's going back to what I said at the start, the Americanization of Formula 1. This is not a marketing gimmick. I don't mind having the Apex car on the grid at Silverstone in 2023 with a couple of drivers at the back marker. That makes for some cool visuals. I really respect that. I respect Brad Pitt driving F2 sessions and going around in the car trying to get some cool footage. I like that. But what it doesn't work for, it doesn't work in the overall angle of the film being about Formula 1. If you're going to do a film about... It's like the Lego movie, right? The Lego movie is about Lego. It's not Lego Batman the movie, which is a real film, but that became a Batman film that just happened to be Lego Batman. That wasn't the Lego movie. And this is kind of how I feel about F1 the movie. This isn't about Formula 1. This is about a specific thing within this, a fictional thing within this. And that's where I'm going to go. I never thought I'd bring the Lego movie up, but here I am. So it's more of a reaction at this point in time than my thoughts. And as I said, the thoughts on the story is it's fine, but it's so average and it's frustrating average. And I think my real criticism is actually poor character writing. I'm just going to go through a couple of characters. We've got Sonny Hayes, played by Brad Pitt, the lead. I'm going to come back to him. We've got Josh Pearce, played by Damson Idris, who I really like in this film. I like him as an actor. I like his performance. I think the character's woefully written. I think it needed a rewrite or two. It's nothing away from the performance or the physicality involved. He's just inherently dislikable from the first moment, and when he builds up his character and into a redemption, it doesn't feel earned. It doesn't. It just feels like they've got to the next page and just now wrote that this thing happened here. The character doesn't have the humbling or the development to end the film where he ends the film. And I think that's what lost me a little bit, because you can see when the producers on board, like Hamilton, that his influence on this will be strong, on the racing, on the style. Very likely, and I'm going to assume this, that he probably wanted to put a black actor in, which is great because it's very underrepresented within Formula One, especially a British one as well. And I like the fact we're going to have the story about this rookie ped of the old timer. But he's just horrible. Like, you really don't like him at the start. And the logic is, this is someone who is trying to get a career in the sport and he's just too arrogant, but it just reads too much on paper as this is too arrogant. There needed to be another writer. I've seen Aaron Sorkin's got a credit on this somehow. I don't know. Didn't feel like an Aaron Sorkin. No dialogue felt like Aaron Sorkin. And then we've got Kate McKenna, played by Kerry Condon. Yes, Kate McKenna, you're probably thinking the SNL host. Awful name to call a character. Kerry Condon, who I love. If you haven't seen Banshees of Inisherin, I really recommend that. She's a phenomenal actress, and she's incredibly two-dimensional in this, and it's not on her performance. It's another flat character that has been written. She's the first female technical director in Formula One history, which is really cool. Let's find out a little bit more about that. Let's make it part of her character. I'm just to prove a point about my ex-husband being wrong, I'm going to blatantly fall in love with Brad Pitt straight away. And I don't think that's interesting as a viewer. I don't think that's interesting as a story. I don't even want to talk about realism because it's so far from it, and I think a lot of the problems I have with this, it sticks around Brad Pitt's character of Sonny Hayes. By the way, Shea Wingham's in this film, who I was so excited he popped up. I hadn't seen any trailers, and that was it. Shea Wingham was in the opening scene of the film. I'd have loved to have had him around a little bit more. He's always that delighted and welcome on screen. But Sonny Hayes, played by Brad Pitt, this is a really awkward one to talk about, and I kind of have to talk about non-film things at the moment. Obviously, there has been, well, not just articles, there's facts about Brad Pitt's personal life, to the point he spoke about it in media recently. He doesn't want to talk about his personal life, he needs to move on from it as everyone else does. Domestic abuse, abusing your children, stuff like that, it's quite hard to shake from a reputation standpoint, and if you can take away the awkwardness of all of that being in the very, very public domain by his own relatives, it makes it quite odd. Makes the film look like he's having a midlife crisis, not the character, the actor. And I think where the film has truly lost me in the aspect of where I was switched off, I can't take him serious as a Formula One driver. It's not the fact he's 60. You could have cast another 60-year-old called Tom Cruise, and it would have worked. I would have believed it. I don't believe for 1 second Sonny Hayes is a real credible driver. There's not enough there in character development. Again, it's all he was a big thing 30 years ago. Let's smack your head on that for 2 hours. He was a big thing 30 years ago. It doesn't feel earned in terms of a narrative or storytelling. Cool, we did Daytona at the start. We'll have everyone else give exposition about what he's won, what he's done elsewhere. It doesn't ever feel like it's working. And I think where I lose it as an F1 fan is there's no strategist in this film. He comes on board and his strategy is, hey, do you remember the Singapore 2008 Grand Prix, which, is one of the biggest scandals in F1 history? In the first or second race we're going to do in this film, we're going to do that 3 times and make out this was like a genius strategy call. Very funny moment though. After that moment, they have Alonso come over, pat him on the shoulder, which is funny because obviously Alonso was the one that won after Singapore 08. But let's move on from that conversation. So I really struggled with some basics of this. That from an F1 perspective, the fact there's no strategist in the sport made it look really dumb. The fact that a driver can just waltz in and basically go to a technical director and say, you know what you need to do? You need to redesign your car like this tomorrow morning. And they do it, and the car's suddenly competitive. We know upgrades can happen in Formula 1. We know that stuff can happen, but it doesn't work as a narrative. It doesn't work on entertainment or viewing, and I don't know how the non-F1 fans will feel about it, if they'll just think it's boringly predictable. I think that's a tone. I don't know how this is going to go down within the industry if you don't know F1, but I also don't know how it's going to go down with the F1 fans. So having a bit of blend of both. But I struggled with Sonny Hayes. I don't find him interesting as a character, and I think he brings down the characters around him Again, it feels predictable, safe by the numbers. It feels like you've got an A-lister in a lead role, and they're going to very much do it their way. And Brad Pitt's a phenomenal producer, by the way. If you look at the careers he's lifted, films he's picked up, directors he's put on the globe, what he's done as a producer is incredible. But this was not it. This was not the film for it. And if I'm going to say his name again, Tom Cruise, F1 should have waited, man. They should have waited till Mission Impossible was done and had this be Tom Cruise's film. Have him re-up Joseph Kosinski. Tom Cruise, who knows how to do the blockbusters, who knows how to make his characters recognisable, to have the audiences go to the cinema to watch him. This doesn't feel like the must-watch film it should have been. It just feels very weak by comparison. And on the way home in the car, I did sit there thinking, I really want to go and rewatch Top Gun Maverick now. No thought in my mind of, do I want to watch this film again? It was straight off like, I really want to go and watch Top Gun Maverick. I'm probably going to go watch Top Gun Maverick this week. I've not seen it for a while. So it's one of them where I'm in a really tricky narrative. I'm trying not to spoil it. It feels like more of a rant, which isn't my intention. But overall, the film didn't work for me. I don't really do star ratings. If I did, it's like 3-star. It's so plain, and it should be better. The film about F1 should be so much better. It starts with the title. It starts with a different lead actor. You've got, again, the supporting actors. Javier Bardem, wonderful in it. I love Javier Bardem, seeing him crop up in things. But it's the predictability and it's the Sonny Hayes stuff. I just think it brings the film down, and I think at some point, whether it will come out in these, I don't know, it just feels like there was a really cool premise and idea here, and then I think once it got into the clutch of Formula One, they just took over and, right, this is ours now, this is our film, this is what we're going to do, this is how we're going to do it. You know, let's have Brundle and commentators on every possible moment. By the way, not one mention of practice or qualifying sessions at all in this entire film. So the first time he gets in the car is the Silverstone race on the Sunday, and he stalls it. I know it's a minor spoiler, but that doesn't happen. We know it doesn't happen. So again, it's little pickles like that are going to make me sound pissed off. But I think this epitomises the highs of F1 at times, but it also epitomises the lows of what the sport's gone on to be. And I think it's a crying shame that this is F1 the movie. They could have just rebranded Rush into F1 the movie, which is much better film. Why is it a better film? Because the racing is secondary to the characters, because you're invested in the characters and the rivalry of James and Niki Lauda, and the fact it's non-fiction, the fact it's based off real life, and that was adapted into a film is so much more remarkable than anything this can be. Could you imagine a film like Rush with the technology of today? It would be incredible, but unfortunately, it's what's missing with this, and it's hard to look past this. It's hard to hype it up. You know, the IMAX sequences look cool, but you know, like anyone that watches F1, you've seen some of these clips, you've seen some of these accidents before. It's just on a bigger screen than normal, and if some of the really cool shots and cool moments, the wheel-to-wheel racing, unfortunately, have been all over the advertising campaign. So it's a bit of a mixed bag from me. Do I recommend this for you guys to watch the cinema? I don't think it was better than 28 Years Later. I don't think it's better than Helio. I don't think it's better than Mission Impossible. I don't think it's better than How to Train Your Dragon. There's Megan's coming out on Friday. There's a lot of other films out that are better than this, which is a shame because this is going to occupy IMAX. And I always talk about the theatre experience. The sound design, I can't even rave about that. Oh, the soundtrack, Christ almighty. You bring in Hans Zimmer to do a soundtrack, and you cover half the film with just nonsense modern songs when you could easily do some proper music. And by the way, Hans Zimmer, who scored Rush, let's bring in some of the Rush theme throughout this film, because they do. Whenever they get to the checkered flag, the Rush music comes on board. So I'm going to listen to the score when it comes out on Friday, but the soundtrack I thought was atrocious. I know they've been advertising it, vinyls and everything, but Christ, yeah. Again, it's everything that's gone wrong with F1 is encapsulated into this 2 hours for me. So 2 hours, 2.5 hours, yeah, that's it. So that's me rounding out. I hope you've enjoyed this video, this review of sorts, this rant of sorts. Comment your thoughts. Maybe you're fuming, maybe you're not. If you thought the same, I'm curious to know what you thought, and I can't wait to see what other people think of this one. So that's me rounding out. Thank you all so much. I'll see you on the next one.